Day after an asteroid cluster passes very close to Earth. Worst ice storm in history hits the state. An old lady hears sounds coming from her wall and calls the exterminator. Her name and address are written in the wall near the phone. She struggles to tell the exterminator her name and address, so she probably has problem remembering things. Exterminator Frank claims she already called him and that she had a parrot. The lady said she didn't have a parrot. Even if she did, it's not like she's going to remember it anyway. Frank sees another exterminator's van parked near the building and gets upset. Frank told Helga the other exterminators are criminals and they didn't finish the job properly. There's slime coming down from the vent. Helga of course doesn't remember anything, not even calling him after hearing the sound. The sound comes again, so Frank went inside to check. He finds the other exterminator lying inside a vent, blood pouring out of his body. Something attacks Frank and drags him inside the same vent. Helga saw him being dragged inside and the reaction on Frank's face was so funny. But Helga saw the TV when she turned around and forgot the whole thing. But the creepy sounds returned again, so Helga called another exterminator. 4 days earlier, one of the asteroids broke a window and fell into a dollhouse, but the asteroid is actually an egg and a spider comes out of it. Charlotte broke into the room through a vent. She took the spider with her when she left. Charlotte's a rebel. She doesn't listen to anyone, but she's only concerned about what matters to her and really mean. Gunter finds the broken window and blames Charlie. She asked Ethan to fix it. It seems he does maintenance work around the building and lives there for free. Also, he's being worked to the bone by Gunter. When Charlotte crawled through the vent, we can see Helga owned a parrot after all. Also, there's a guy playing with fish. Ethan figures out Charlotte broke into Gunter's room, but he just told her to stay away from Gunter for a while. The smile on this spoiled child's face felt really evil for some reason. Ethan's working with people to publish his comic, but he has a baby in the house and a boss that keeps him on a tight schedule. He's working on the comic at nights. When Charlotte's mom Heather asks her to watch the baby, Charlotte didn't like it. She's not very fond of the baby. I feel like the writer is using Charlotte's character to criticize this generation's kids. Like all the problems in this movie only happened because Charlotte never listened to her parents. Also because she was irresponsible. Charlotte broke into Gunter's room to steal this doll. She used it to draw this and post it on the internet. There's also a woman called Maria living in the building. While Ethan is fixing her sink, a cockroach falls on his face. Maria called Gunter cheap and said she does nothing about the bugs or anything. Ethan is electrocuted while fixing the garbage compactor. Ethan takes a moment to calm himself before facing his family. Helga and Gunter are both Charlotte's grandmas. The comic Ethan is publishing is actually written by Charlotte and illustrated by him. Charlotte makes some changes to the comic that Ethan later removes. This caused some friction between them, and it's revealed Ethan is not her biological father. Charlotte named the spider Sting, kept the spider in a jar after and fed cockroaches to it since the building is filled with them. That night it grew strong enough to open the glass jar. It went into the ducts and killed the parrot in Helga's room. Gunter freaked out and called Frank. This must be the first time he visited, and he probably remembered the parrot because of the way it died. There was a blood trail in the duct. Frank threw something like a smoke grenade inside the ducts and did some other work. The next night Sting went out to hunt again. It paralyzes and eats Maria. Charlotte must have known about the parrot and how bizarre its death was. She didn't stop to think it could be because of Sting, which suddenly grew twice its size. Charlotte went to the Eric, the guy who experiments with fish, and asked for a fish tank to keep Sting. One thing led to another, and now she's explaining everything about Sting to Eric, how it can mimic sounds and grew twice its size in a day. Eric said spiders don't have vocal cords, so they can't be mimics. Also that it's impossible to grow that fast. After thinking, he lies to Charlotte and borrows Sting for a while. Charlotte throughout the movie never easily believed or listened to others. I can't believe how easily she was fooled by Eric. Turns out Maria's dog that she left outside has been running through the ducts. After being shocked by it, Ethan goes to return the dog and finds Maria's body and calls the cops. Eric calls Ethan and convinces him that the spider is dangerous and Charlotte can't keep it. Ethan confronted Charlotte and told her she can't keep it. Eric didn't open the door when Charlotte tried to take the spider back. Charlotte got mad and told Ethan his comic sucks. Also, Charlotte wrote a professor character in the comic which she based on her dad, and Ethan killed that character. When Charlotte talked about this, she compared Ethan with her dad and talked to him in a condescending way. Turns out Charlotte was told her real dad lives in Thailand, and that's why he's not coming home. but he's actually living really close to them but abandoned his family. Charlotte's mom didn't want her to know about this yet, but Ethan told her everything. Charlotte was really hurt. Heather felt betrayed. Eric claimed he's going to take Sting to the Department of Health and Safety, but he kept the spider and started feeding it all his pets. That night Sting grew so much, it easily broke the fish tank. This guy knew this spider can grow at an incredible rate and develop abilities which spiders usually won't have. But after feeding it so much he went to sleep without a care. What happened to him was inevitable. During all this Ethan didn't work on the comic, so the work was given to someone else. Upon receiving the news, frustrated Ethan takes it out on the heater. Gunter saw this and fired him. Ethan criticized for taking money from her own family. Gunter told Ethan he's not family and he'll leave them one day because he's a weak man. This is how we know she's the spider's next victim. Gunter followed her cats howling into a vent, but Sting found her first and took her inside the vent and webbed her up. An already frustrated Ethan was electrocuted while working and punched the TV. This terrified everyone in the room. After sending Charlotte to the other room, Heather and Ethan were talking. It seems like Charlotte's real father was violent also, because she told Ethan she can't do this again. Sting attacked them directly and dragged their paralyzed bodies into the vent. There's a scene where Charlotte is listening to music and not realize her parents are being dragged by her pet spider. It strongly feels like something old people say all the time about this generation. By the time Charlotte noticed, she only heard creepy sounds from the vent and both of her parents were missing. She blocked the entrance, but Sting came from another vent and took the baby. There was a scene earlier where mothballs melt Sting's web and Sting didn't react well to it. So Charlotte liquefied mothballs and prepared some weapons against Sting. But I had a strong feeling the movie was really saying, yeah, you're crafty, but your mom's probably dead though. Because the previous scene where her mom and Ethan were paralyzed and disappeared into the gaps of their house was so dark. This scene did not manage to clear the negative mood. Charlotte entered the vents while covering it with mothball water to keep Sting away. She went to Eric to get some information or help, but Eric's already dead. So she went to check on her grandma, but grandma's fine because she's covered with mothball smell. Ethan tried to break free from the web, but the webs were so strong he started bleeding when he freed his hand and screamed. So Charlotte found him. She poured the mothball water over the webs, and they just disappeared. But Sting arrived, so they fell all the way down into the trash. Sting followed them but ran away when Ethan heard it with mothball water. Despite acting all heroic, when Sting came for Charlotte, she called for Ethan and he shone like the real hero. Frank fell through the same vent. We are in the present time now. Frank took the last bottle of mothball water and poured it on himself. Instead of planning to use it in the best way possible, he acted selfishly. He was also mean to the main characters. This is how we know he's next in the spiders list. Frank used his nail gun against Sting but accidentally hit the sprinkler system. The water washed away all the mothball water, but Frank also hurt Sting and we can see its blood dripping from the vent. Sting went mad and crushed Frank's head instead of its usual routine for hunting. Ethan took Charlotte into the garbage compactor. Heather and the baby are also in there. Ethan is electrocuted again while trying to make the machine work, but Charlotte managed to crush Sting. Earlier Ethan wrote this scene in the comic where the main character does this, and her father was resurrected by that. Charlotte did the same and Ethan woke up. I am not sure about the message here. Maybe the writer is saying everything will be alright if you listen to your parents even if it's cringe. Also it seems like Sting had some backup plans. Through all of this, the dog survived? What did we learn from this? The writer hates parrots and cats, but loves dogs. Because the cat died also. Throughout the movie on several scenes we were shown the whereabouts of this dog. We were assured the dog is safe. After they found Maria's body, there's a dialogue from Heather to make us feel ease.
Don't get mad, I said that Bonnie could stay for just a couple of days until we...
The film really cared about the dog so much. It gave us several scenes to convince us not to worry about the dog. Even in the ending they had to show us the dog safe and tell us not to worry. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this.